Welcome everybody back to Rivals Rundown Part 2. Hopefully
Yeah.
CB's internet can stay alive.
I have power now. We're
Yeah,
chilling.
we will see. But regardless of last stream, we went over the standings, the predictions. We went through a couple of power rankings, support and bottom lane. I think we were doing mid lane. We were partway through mid lane when it got cut off. So
Yep.
we'll flash up the support and bottom lane rankings for you all just as a little recap. And then we'll go right back into mid. We'll finish out mid jungle top and then do the team power rankings.
Yep. Let me see if I can do the quick version.
Yeah, quick version.
Yeah, just to show what happened last time. You can go into the full depth if you go to the last video. But there is support. The best role people were murmuring.
Support, yeah. There you have it. 1 through 11. Had a couple E-subs last week. Here you have the bottom lane rankings. Interesting. I don't think we talked about it before. I'll just quick hit on it. NLE, both at the top, support and bottom laner.
True.
A potent combo down there in the bot lane for them. But now we move on to the mid lane rankings.
Yeah.
We were a couple spots through them before it got cut off, so I think we're gonna run through them real quick. I think we're about like 9 or 8 is where we left off. So at number 13 is Zuri. Rough week for Plasma Wolves. Gotta hit that ×2.
Huh?
Check your mini map coming
chilling.
in at number 12.
DPH had their playoff hopes dangled in front of them, getting back
Yeah,
into
and then
it,
taken
and then
away
said,
again.
psych.
Crazy. Brissinger 35 at 11. Highest this player has been on the mid lane power rankings.
Brissinger
Riven
is OSGA, right?
Yep. Riven
Right.
dropping down
I
to
think
10.
OSGA is forfeiting today.
Oh, really?
I think, which would be their last game. I don't know.
Interesting.
I have to go back and check. I don't think they could fill the full roster, but anyway. Riven at
Limestone
10,
at a
Limestone at 9.
tough week this last week. Played a couple pocket picks. Didn't work out in either of the games.
And I think that is where we were at when
Yeah.
Power said no thank you. So jumping back into it, move on to number 8.
Number 8. Yeah, it's been so long since I did these. Don't remember. Mundo Man. We did Mundo Man as well. They went to 3 games. Had a rough karma game.
I don't know how far we got into it. I don't remember, but
They had a rough karma game 2, I think, but otherwise looked really solid in their win against BLM.
And OSGS, of course, that team I've been sleeping on a little bit, but I don't think I've been sleeping on the team. Been sleeping on some of the players, so players are getting some more respect this week. Move it to number 7.
Into number 7 we go, top of the bottom half. I think this is where we left off. Bixis no longer with us. The nuclear fallout was something to watch. Didn't have the worst of weeks, despite the supposed lag coming through. And so they find themselves at number 7.
Yeah, I mean, a solid player in game, but that's seems to be the extent of it. I don't know.
Yep, that's the last time you will see Bixis on these rankings. Now we move on to the bottom of the top half. The Lord JK.
Who's this team? I don't recognize.
Yeah. It should be like some rabbit thing now, I think.
Bad Bunnies.
Hopefully I'll get access to that. You said Bad Bunnies?
Something like that. I don't know.
Something like that.
I believe Lord JK is staying on the roster.
Correct.
As of right now, he is the starter for that team. So his ranking will move on to our next streams. But number 6 after 1 or 2 weeks that he's played total.
Yeah, it's been looking pretty strong. Played Vagar both games into Zuri and Plasma Wolves and looked good doing it.
Yeah, enough for a top 6 spot. I think it's just this first week playing, but who knows?
I think he played last week as well.
Okay.
He was the
Apologies.
replacement for another problem child, Kama, coming in at number 5. Um, you could debate, is Kama a little bit too high? It was a full 3-game series into Mundo Man. The stats are there for this player. However, since moving to mid, I think they had 1 week where they picked up a W. I think they're 1-3 since the roster shakeup, or 1-2. Um,
Good enough for
Either
playoffs.
way, yeah. I mean, they are ramping up. I talked a little bit about it in like the doc I put out. It looks like they're putting things together, and they're on the cusp of like putting all the pieces together. It hasn't happened yet, but they're getting there.
Yeah. So their team is. I like that they LXC added on the game record on the standing sheet. So BLM is 7-8, 4 seed sector 2, and I think Kama is one of 2 players that's really popping off week to week.
Hmm.
Number 4.
Number 4, Stink Pickles. A Stink Pickle, the Affilio mid extraordinaire. Since Roar has started their hot streak, a big part of their formula for success has been the top side of their map, and Stink Pickle, of course, being right there in the middle lane is a part of that. Has looked really good. I'm curious to see. I'm not saying anything about Sector 2 mids, but outside of Kama, a lot of them are down there on the other side of the rankings. So it'll be interesting to see when the competition gets tougher, theoretically, as playoffs start, if he can keep getting away with these pocket picks. But so far, it's been no problem for him.
I mean, I don't know. Can we even say that? We have 4th, 5th, and 6th all sector 2.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I mean, technically, but I'm gonna assume 1, 2, 3 is sector 1.
Oh,
So, agreed. We'll see. I mean, RAR's one of the hottest teams this second half of the season. So, largely due to Stink Pickle being a staple in the mid lane.
and a pretty good name, I will say. Into the top 3 we go. At number 3, Efron. Um, Let me see if I could pull up last week's rankings.
Oh yeah, see if they moved or not. I know
I think he
Efron. Yeah,
moved up 1 spot, if I recall correctly.
probably.
I'm gonna fact check myself.
Oh
Give me
no,
a
no. He
second.
popped off 706 on the Oriana, into Bixus's Cassiopeia, and then Bixus had a good game on the Victor game too, but Efron had an even better game, going 10-1 and 11 on the Talia pick, leading
Hmm.
the game in CS too. So sheesh.
So Efron and Sneak Peek will swapped. I believe what had happened is they ended up being tied the way we do our vote system.
Oh yeah.
I went with the player with the better overall record,
Cool, cool.
which is Efron at 3. So right there with Stink Pickle, kind of vying for that top 3 spot.
I think that's fair.
Number 2 stays the same. Soul Ram over at NLE. So they have the number 1 support, the number 1 AD, the number 2 mid. NLE is looking kind of stacked if you're going off of our rankings.
Yeah.
But Soul Ram had a really nice series against Avalanche. Their whole team did. And
Pull out
really the
Lux.
only mid laner that's given our boy Salo any trouble.
That's what people were whispering. Pulled out the Lux. You don't see too many Luxes lately in comp play.
Yeah.
But yeah, number 2, much deserved. Top 2. I guess that means number 1 must be.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to watch a beat down in the mid lane, go watch our VOD for the TDP game 1 and 2. Because Salo was taking it to ribbon, and it was kind of ugly to watch.
Yeah, I mean they had some interesting picks. We
That's some
matched it
interesting
with
picks.
some carry potential picks, and yeah, Salo popping off per usual. Per usual, gonna keep that number 1 spot. And we'll see. We'll get to see the number 1 versus number 3 here in a few hours.
Indeed, there's your mid lane rankings. Take a snapshot, put it on the fridge. We are moving on to jungle. because everybody loves jungle. We're going to save those sneaky top laners for last.
Sure.
I don't remember if 13 is an E-sub or not.
Yep.
I think it is. I think Plasma was rocked an E-sub, so
Yep.
that's just a filler spot. Uh, is today the first day that they'll have their jungler
It's
playing?
I mean, they would, but I believe they play against OSGA, who is supposed to
Oh,
be
440.
not having a team. So, um, I I did see some stuff. It
Interesting.
looked like PLW was willing to waive pretty much anything uh, to let OSGA play. I just don't think they've been able to find enough people to play. So, yeah, I don't know how we'll do the rankings next week. We just leave it like this, or put the starters randomly. I don't know. Kind of unfair,
Uh,
but
We'll
it is
figure
what
it
it
out.
is.
Number 12 gonna
Dun-
be hopefully it gets their Odin Gaming Twitch TV. The OSGA jungler OSGA, like you mentioned, probably not playing today. Don't expect them to rise. It's been a rough split, and as a result, most of the players have found themselves near the bottom of their respective lists.
Yep. So, assuming they're not playing today, this being the last regular season game, no real chance to move up. So, I mean, they'll be on the list next week, but obviously they don't play this week, then they'll either stay the same or move down for the ones that have climbed off of the 13th spot.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. We'll figure it out. Number 11. Physiology stepping up for the boys over at TDB or at LXC, departing from the team. Physiology role swapping, got a nice Baron steal against you guys. I
Yeah,
was a little
true.
upset, but other than that, it was kind of interesting rocking the lethal tempo Volibear. I think game 2. But you got to give them props for stepping into a tough situation, kind of last minute notice and playing off role. So number 11, not a bad place to be with all things considered.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if today's obviously the last day to add anybody to the roster. We'll see if that's who they're going to rock not only this week, but going into playoffs.
Number 10, into the top 10 we go. Useful int rising 1 spot. For reference, Red XC was ranked number 4, so most of the people that were below that 11 spot will be moving up. Useful int going to be doing the same. I don't believe this is a player that we will see play this week as well.
I can check,
Um,
I think. Yep, correct. He will not be playing today.
So 07's in chat for Useful int and the rest of the DP squad that have departed. But top 10 is where this player will end up for their final placement.
Not a bad spot.
Number 9, Tyler, our boy in the Twitch chat. Veracity, it's been 4 straight weeks of not picking up a dub, but Tyler does move up into that 9 slot, trying to do the best for their team. I always appreciate players that will just play what is asked for the team to function. I imagine both for Tyler and some other people that we know, playing a Moo Moo and Malachi and Sejuani every game isn't the funnest, but if it gets your team wins, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think you trade having to be the supportive tank engage player for some wins. But we'll see.
Yeah.
They made playoffs, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
they already locked
I
in
mean,
playoffs. So they got time.
they got time. They'll put it together. I heard there's some rumblings that Storm over at New Origins was gonna step in and help them with their questionable drafting decisions. Is
They're
his words,
stealing.
not mine. Number 8.
It's gonna be Red Sharky of Hydro Pump, who I believe are officially knocked out of playoffs.
They are.
gonna try to check to see if they've posted who's playing.
Think about the Ariori Sans Vixus. If I mean that makes sense in my mind, but maybe the nuclear fallout extended to some other members.
I don't know. They didn't post anything, so I don't know. I don't know if who they playing today. I should probably have that already memorized. But either way, top 8 for Red Sharky. They played against what, TFF, I think. This last game.
Correct.
So tough team to play against. Broke out the Warwick Jungle one game and the Amumu Jungle one game. So not the best showings this week, but enough to stay in the top 8.
At number 7, top of the bottom half, we do go. Gonna be drumroll, please.
I'm stealthy for BLM.
Like I said, BLM, just like a component or two away from putting it all together. Went the full 3-game different distance. My apologies with the number 2 seed of their respective sector. Had a really good scoreline in the win, as one typically does. But even the losses didn't look like they were one of the major reasons why they were struggling. So it's gonna be interesting. They came on late into the year for BLM, so I think they're just ramping up as they get towards playoffs.
Yeah, and one of our potential first round opponents. We'll see how tonight shakes out for everybody. But yeah, I mean, dropping 53k damage on that Lilia game 3.
Yeah.
Close.
At number 6, bottom of the top half, could be Questioning Error. This is a player that I've been a fan of since they have stepped into the role for OSGS. They've played crazy picks. They've busted out the fiddle a couple times, the cane. This series, in their game 3 win, they broke out the Darius, who will be getting nerfed. So no more Darius Jungle Enjoyers next patch. But it's been cool to see the variety of champs this guy's pulled out. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, getting to play a lot of carry style champs. I know a lot of teams sometimes don't let their jungler do that, so it's working for Sub-Zero and well enough for Questioning Error to make the top 6 list today.
Into the top 5. At number 5, what do we got?
The Moisting for RAR. Some people were whispering the hottest team out right now.
Definitely one of the hottest teams. Like I said, the top side, usually when they do well, they find wins. Moisting having the perfect KDA in their game 1 win on a Rek'Sai, who, if you can go deathless on a Rek'Sai, you're doing something right. And then game 2 also locking in the Rek'Sai as well. Not as dominant of a performance, but still really good nonetheless. That topside trio of Feathers, Moisting, and Stink Pickle doing a lot of work for RAR. Earlier on, when they were struggling, a lot of it came down to that mid jungle pairing. It seems like they've straightened that out and have corrected the ship since then. We'll have to see how they fare in playoffs, but at number 5, Moisting.
Yeah, much deserved. That top side duo seems to be doing really well. Back-to-back Rek'Sai games, and we won't be seeing that too often.
We usually don't. Coach Silent K with probably the best series of the split so far for himself. In that win against HPB. It took a while for, TFF's jungle to get up here, but has done so. Kind of steadily improving his play week in and week out. I think they were supposed to be the top laner originally, then they swapped, so maybe it was a little bit of a off-roll kind of thing. They're getting used to it, but has looked good so far.
Yeah, looking good indeed. We, of course, play them tonight. We'll see how it goes. They pulled out the Ivern in Game 2 last week against Hydro Pump. Played a good supportive style there with the most assists in the game. So top 4, much deserved.
Top 4, much deserved. Indeed. But now it's the top 3. At number 3, Big Red.
Big Red.
Yeah, I mean, had a solid performance wasn't asked to do a whole lot with the way we approached the game plan, I would say, against TDB, but filled the role nicely. Um, it was at one point in game one though. He did play Mordekaiser. I think he ended with the most or second most, third most CS in the game, and was like 6 levels ahead of Physiology. It was kind of crazy. So good stuff.
Yeah, definitely popped off. Put him on a carry champ. He's gonna do some carry stuff, and no complaints there with our spicy Mordekaiser jungle. So top 3 much deserved. Been climbing up the ranks all split, and mama, we made it.
Number 2, one might argue is now the new number 1. Koi no Yokan for NLE. So for those of you keeping track, that's 1122 going out in these power rankings for NLE. Against OSGA, not the toughest opponent, but did look really good. I gave a special shout out to his Talia. Game 2 against them. Did the most damage for them on that pick. A pick we haven't seen very much recently. So to pull it out and do so well was good stuff.
Yeah, been up here for a bit. People were whispering should be number 1, but I mean, maybe wait a week and we'll see what happens. Because I assume, obviously, we kept what we had previously. Everybody that played last week is on this list, so we didn't go through and change stuff in light of all the stuff that happened. So 2 people could say it's really 1B. Either way, good job to Koi. And number 1.
You all know what happened. Latex on the Rift was doing incredibly well, but they will no longer be with us.
They will no longer be with us. Okay, that's jungle.
That is jungle indeed.
That's all there is to say
Moving
about that.
on to the top lane. We got enough time?
Yeah, let's do it. I got a snooze. We can do it.
Okay, all right. We'll do top lane, and then we'll probably have to take a break and then do the rest of the whole shindig.
Yeah.
Top lane coming in at number 13. Wheeze. It was a rough week for PLW. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Wheeze was no exception. I'm excited to see potentially what this roster has in store if we ever get to see them play as 5. But if it's not this week, it's their first real test is going to come in playoffs, which is kind of scary. I'm assuming they're getting their scrims in and getting some practice done. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, as long as they get a couple quality scrims in, I think they'll be fine. Of course, a lot of question marks around this team and 1 or 2 other teams. If they're good, if they're not, I think PLW is still going to be fine. Just a rough first week for Wheeze.
Number 12. Feldroth. It's been interesting. Feldroth and Matrix, I think, have been like playing every other week. Don't know why. I don't know if it's some weird job situation. But regardless, I mean, it's been a tough season for them. The fact that they're so willing to step in every other week, it feels like good to see, good mental. Unfortunately, the results haven't been there.
Yeah, and I think Feldroth definitely had some good weeks, some good games whenever he, I guess, technically subbed in. But gonna end it at 12. Don't think we'll see them be playing this week, so there they land.
Number 11, Reverse. Kind of got onto him in my little document. There's been a rough showing for him lately. This week was no exception. Not enough to find themselves at the bottom of the list, but pretty dang close.
Yeah, I mean, kind of touched on it all split. Hydro Pump looked very good to start the split and just kind of took a nosedive there for a bit. And I believe they're out of the running for playoffs, so I assume they're still going to play their game today, but not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think they do a cross division matchup too, which is kind of interesting to end the season on. But number 10, it's gonna be Angry. for DPH. Do you know if this player will be playing this week?
It is somewhere. Angry will not be playing, so
All
their
right.
season is coming to an end.
Got a bye week.
At 10th.
So nothing really to go over in terms of the last week. I will say this player locked in some crazy champs, had moderate success on them, but it looked like they were trying to expand their champ pool, kind of play for the team as the season went on, which was good to see. So hopefully Angry sticks around or, finds another team and continues to kind of build on that. Number 9, Hunter 85M7 or just Hunter. Um Hunter came on with questioning error, I think the same week, and has kind of filled the glue role with questioning, playing those carry champs, like you said. Somebody's got to play that beefy front line. Typically, it's fallen to this player, and he performed well.
Yeah, I mean, they had kind of a banger series against BLM last week, going almost 50 minutes in that game 3.
Yeah.
But I feel like Hunter's always playing pretty solidly, regardless of what type of champ they're on. So always good when you have a solid solo laner. Which will be
Into the top
9,
8.
Number 8.
Tiny Fist of Fury, talking about that banger 3 games of a series. Tiny arguably had the better 3 game showing, except for that glaring game 1, locking in the Gwen, going 0-9. Kind of tough to see. Outside of that, though, he's also playing the Hunter Tyler role, the glue guy for BLM, typically on the tanks, occasionally on the cannon. Has looked decent enough, not elite, but not horrible.
Yeah, I think solidly in this middle tier, and that Ornn game 3 was I say a decent reason as to why they pulled it out. Oh, almost pulled it out. Oh, sorry.
Almost sold it out. Islamic Samurai,
Close.
kind of with Coach Silent K, had a really good series. You could argue it's his either first or second best. I know he had a pretty nasty rumble earlier in the year. But went 4-1-6 on that Gwen. Also did some work on the Aatrox. Good stuff. The TFF chill guys, Islamic and Coach Silent K are never gonna be like put the spotlight on me. I'm gonna carry. It's more gonna be on that, Efron and Chrome Alone or Lucky, I guess, when he subbed in.
They're playing. I mean,
Um,
they're playing off roll, right? I guess that's why you
yeah, I
pointed that,
mean,
right? At least I know Islamic seems like
not
they're a
their
support main.
originally intended role. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, still
Um,
playing carry champs. A lot of times, whenever people play off roll, they're just like, all right, just hardcore tank duty. I'll be
yeah.
chilling. But I mean, Islamic be playing some carry roles, so we'll see. Potential chance they miss game 1 tonight. We'll see for sure if that happens or not.
Number 6, into the top half we go. At number 6, it's going to be
Oh, oh. At number 5,
number 5.
number
We
5 is
move
gonna be
on.
Complex.
Yep. So complex situation. I know he's pulling double duty for TD. I actually casted his
Yeah, I saw
best
that.
of 5 game thriller yesterday. Dropping 20 kills on the Darius. That is a lower league, so congrats to him moving on to finals. But this league, since the loss that occurred to HPB, has been kind of downhill. I will say Complex puts in a lot of work in terms of the damage. It's just last week was a tough week in totality for that team.
Yeah, I mean, had some good vision in CS for top lane. So I mean, it's not like they hard ran it down by any means. It's just kind of a tougher week. We played pretty well, so Complex gonna drop. I don't think they dropped too much, did they? Were they, or was this the week that they were won last week?
They
I don't
were
remember.
not one. I'll double check what they were.
Okay, I know it was,
Uh,
at one point Complex was one. Um, Still solid player, just a rough week, so still in the top 5.
let's see here. So
Ah,
last week they were number 4, so only dropped one spot.
okay.
At number 4, a rising one spot is Uber Awesome. Um, consistently plays solid for a team that's struggling. Um, there's a question of, is this player suffering from a champ pool issue? Is this team just suffering from like a lack of like in-game shot calling or leadership? Either way, Uba in lane is really good. And then once that team gets outside of laning phase, it all kind of comes apart. So because these are individual rankings, I think Uba at 4 makes sense. I think he can lane with the best of them. Outside of the lane, though, definitely some question marks.
Yeah, and it looks like RAR did opt to finally ban the Ambessa. So I feel like Uba was on a big streak playing the Ambessa. Which, did he play it back-to-back games? Am I tripping? Okay, no, he played it one of the games, so he got the Ambessa game too. Always does well in that champ, but yeah, agree. Definitely very good in lane. Not watching all their games necessarily, see what's happening, but they got time to figure it out, like we touched on earlier. And I think being top 4 on a losing record team is pretty good.
Yeah, shows you strength as a player. Number 3, the drama. Everybody's been top 2, and then Diet comes in at number 3. So it's a combination of two things. One, the person that took your spot at number 2 is having a resurgence in the middle of the year. And one is the way we do the rankings, you end up just outside of being tied for the number 1 spot. So
yeah, I mean I feel like the top 3 in my opinion are like tier like 1A, and then maybe 4 through 6 or 7 are pretty close behind. So
yeah,
I don't know. Top 3 could have shaken up either way. I wouldn't have been super surprised. It took me a second to think of, obviously, at least one of them.
2?
Yeah, who's that 1 or 2? Because I was like, okay, was Diet Coke not 1 or 2 last week? So did they fall? I guess
It
one
was
spot.
2. They fell 1 spot despite a really solid showing.
Yeah. So perhaps victim to just they had a weaker opponent mixed with the person that jumped them just had a really good showing. So either way, much deserved to be top 3.
All I know is NLE is probably gonna make fun of him for it, so we love to see it. Number 2, player in question, Feathers, moving from number 3 to the number 2 spot. I think a big part of why Roar is having success is Feathers is kind of shaken the early season slump. No longer is he locking in Ornn and getting out damaged by Poppy support. Instead, he's found his groove and looking really good.
Yeah, I mean, every week seems like he's at least playing solid, if not playing a very much carry role. So definitely a staple on this team, as they are one of the hottest teams. And no surprise that he's top 2. Just took me a second to wake up and remember who it was, since I hadn't looked at this a couple days.
I will say, man only plays 3 champs. Somehow he gets one of those 3 every single game. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Number 1, our boy Death Knight. I mean, if you look at the list, everybody we've beaten, sans Diet Coke. That's the one glaring difference. Death Knight's looked really good in. We haven't played Feathers. But yeah, I think he's a self-proclaimed casual player and playing at a top of the table level for us.
Yeah, and I think the people up there with him are higher rank, as far as, league solo, whatnot. So DK be putting on a clinic sometimes. It seems like there were a few week stretch there where it was like, oh, you're playing against the number 1 top laner this week, get ready, and then he'd just be popping off. So again, I do still think 1, 2, and 3 are all really close.
It's really close.
But it's tough, especially in these last few weeks, not to put DK at the top for how much he's been popping off. So we'll see. I don't. The top 3 obviously don't play each other this week, so we'll see how playoff shakes it out.
Yeah, I will say, like, to your point, so all 3 of these players are all top 3 in terms of like the statistics I use to kind of like measure efficiency. So you can argue where they should be placed. We're just going off of the way the teams are performing and what these players are being asked to do. Quick break and then team power rankings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, kind of have
Alright.
to, or else it'll add in the middle of it. So we'll try to minimize it to somewhere in the 3 to 4 minute range, but we will be right back with last but not least, where your team is actually ranked.
We are back, and all we have left is the team power rankings for the LXC Week 7 Part 2 Rivals Rundown.
You say that again real quick?
Yeah, you got that once. So what do we need to address before the team rankings come out? They were done with the previous number 1 seed still playing. Will be reflected in these power rankings. Might change depending on, I don't know, because I don't think they play this week. I think they get a bye.
Yeah, because they had the CE game.
So I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll figure something out. But other than that, you know the drill. 1 through 13. Here we go. Number 13. I think y'all can guess what team this is going to be. We'll see, though.
Yeah. Consistency is key.
Yeah. If they're one thing, they are consistent. I will say, I think they've put on decent showings throughout the split. They just never picked up a win. And that's the bottom line,
I picked
which
up a
is
free
why they
win,
end
right?
up at the bottom line. Yeah, I meant like PvP,
Oh,
like
okay,
actual
okay.
game wins. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, of course, this team, and I think one other team is, um, lower ranked than most every other team in here. So, hopefully, they at least have gotten some practice, especially if they're done for the season and not playing today. So,
Mm-hmm.
might be bidding them farewell.
Into the top 12 at number 12. It's gonna be drum roll, please.
Team that kind of got I'm not gonna say they got screwed over because I mean they're at the rank and record of what they got and how they performed. Um,
Yeah.
but it was kind of like, hey, guess what? Good news. Just kidding.
Here in playoffs.
Never
Just
mind.
kidding.
So
Yeah.
that was tough. But
Interesting note is that they have as many wins as the 5 seeds in both sectors. They just couldn't actually win series. So they have 6 game wins, but way more
mm,
losses.
yeah,
So
that's tough. That's picking up a bunch of one game wins. Just couldn't quite get the consistency down. Yeah, that is interesting that they have the same amount of wins, but losses do matter. Losses do matter. So close, so
and
close.
we move on to number 11, Plasma Wolves. So I mean, could this be too low here in 2 weeks' time? Potentially. Could this be too high in 2 weeks' time? Also potentially. I went off of the stats that were given to me for the 3 games that these players have played. They're not pretty, but it's also, they got a whole bunch of E-subs and stuff going on, so they're going into playoffs. I just don't know how good this team is.
I don't know. I still, after everything, I have faith. I would go as far to say that they are the sixth best team. Sixth best team. Which I mean in a good way, because obviously they're fifth seed in Sector 1. Um, I don't know. I think they're top 6, so we'll see. They just got to get a game, which they're not going to get this week, under their belt, so hopefully they're getting some scrims in. Or winging it. Who knows?
Number 10, the team that has lost 4 weeks straight. Veracity, it's been tough sledding since basically week 2 or week 3, whenever their last win was. They're going into playoffs. They got play-ins. As of right now, they're either playing Plasma Wolves or TD. It's just a matter of how both of these teams do. I mean, Plasma Wolves picks up a free win, so TD has to win, right? Otherwise, they go
I don't
to
know.
5th seed.
Sector 1 can move all sorts around, depending on what happens today, but
Well, I think Plasma Wolves and TD can only go as high as 4. It's just a matter of who ends up as 5.
TD can go to 3. TD
Oh, they
beat
could go
TFF
to 3. Yeah, that's true. If we beat them this week, today.
if
So
TD pulls out the upset, right? But
I don't know. So Veracity has, I guess, 3 teams that they kind of have to be on the lookout for.
yeah, today's just practice because they got 5th seed either way, right? I don't even think they can jump to 4.
Yeah, they're locked in 5th.
So they're chilling. Maybe they try some stuff out. Who knows? They know.
We'll see. They know. Number 9. Prom Lives Matter. Um, could be the number 3 seed for Sector 2. Why are they number 9? It's been a rough couple weeks since we played them. I think they've lost. They're through 2-1 or something. The last 3 weeks. Let me double check.
I don't know. They almost pulled out. I don't know if you'd call it an upset. I guess you would call it an upset against Sub-Zero. this last week, but it looked like it was about as close as of a game as it can get. So,
Yeah, so the last 4 weeks are 1-3. Um, so I mean they did pick up a win. They are picking up game wins. Like I said, they're putting it together. This is a team. I think Stealthy came on week 4 or 5. No, had to have been after we played them. So maybe week 4. Either way, um, could be a sleeper pick for the playoffs. Also could go out in the first round. That's why they're at number 9. Number 8, if we could probably redo them with the information we know now, you would expect HP to be below all the teams that aren't making playoffs. I will say though, on like a statistics basis, uh, their performances are significantly better than the Sector 2 teams that have been placed so far. So, I mean,
oh yeah, I
you
think
can
if
say
they're in
Sector.
Sector 2, yeah, I think they'd be at like they'd be at 4. They'd be at 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
all
mean, depending
hypotheticals.
on how the roster situation went, but
Yeah. So you can argue that like they should be lower. This is a power rankings list. This isn't just the standings. Um, the thinking is that if HPB, maybe not with their new mid laner, but as previously constructed, could contend with the top of the table with Sector 2. So um, we'll, we'll never know. But they end up at number 8.
number 7 is going to be RAR, which I don't want to say it's surprising because obviously they kind of been ramping up, so the first half had them pretty low for a while. I wouldn't have been surprised to see them in like the 4, 5, 6 range, but nonetheless, going to be sitting right in the middle of the pack at 7.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the statistics, they ended up at the 7th spot. I think you might have rated them a little bit higher on your individual ones. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'm curious.
They're playing well. Part of the factor though is like who have they played,
Yeah,
and
I had
they've
my
beaten
7.
all
I had my 7.
they've
So,
they've beaten all the teams they should have beaten and have lost to all the teams they should have lost to, which is why they kind of end up right in the middle.
yeah, but are they on a win streak right now?
Let
Or
me double
no?
check.
I mean, they played no
So
rest.
they've won the last 3 games that they played with a bye in the middle. So they beat Veracity last week. They beat DPH the week prior. They got the FF win in week 5, and then they took a game off of Hydro Pump at that number 8 spot in the rivalry week. Or
They
not
beat
a
Hydro
game,
Pump. They
sorry.
beat Hydro Pump.
Yeah, yeah. I should say they took the match.
So
I
they
meant the
won
match.
4 in a row. Well, I mean, one of them being a free win.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't. I mean, it just maybe if their schedule was a little different, it'd be interesting to see where they would have actually ended up.
Yeah, if Sector 2 wasn't so poo poo. No, I'm just kidding.
Their top 2
Just
sectors. You put some
kidding.
respect on their names.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
And there's no one to fight for it now, right? 'Cause,
Yeah. Yeah. Number 6, TFF. Chill, guys. So, if I remember correctly, I believe they went down despite a win. Yeah, so they dropped from 5 to 6. We'll talk a little bit about it as we continue on with these rankings. A 1 spot drop isn't the end of the world coming off a win. The way we do the power rankings, we have to talk about all the teams, so you'll see who might be ranked ahead of them. But I think this is a decent spot.
yeah. I think because they lost to TD,
Yeah,
when
that's
when
tough.
TD's roster was different, that's where it kind of makes it weird.
Yeah.
I'm still under the impression that TFF is actually a top 3 team, but who knows? Maybe I'm trying to reverse jinx something tonight. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. We'll talk about number 5 here, kind of, as well. So, that loss you're talking about, TD. Statistical basis, the way that TD started out their season, they're actually still a little bit better than TFF. we've talked about TFS WinCon, right? They like to play that mid-late game scaling, which when you lose doesn't really help you in the statistics, and when you win also doesn't really help you in the statistics because you're not stomping teams very fast. So you can argue that they should be above TD as things stand now. You could also say they could be even as high as 4 or 3. But the way things shook out, they ended up at number 6 because at number 4, finally getting the respect that they need or should have been getting. OSG Sub-Zero. So Sub-Zero was 6 with the win against BLM. They jumped up 2 spots. We've said that Sector 2 is weaker than Sector 1, so you could be saying, like, why is OSGS 2 spots ahead of TFF, 1 spot ahead of TD? Statistically, they're the 4th best team in the league. So
Okay. People were whispering that they should be the first seed right now. That's what people were saying. That's not me. It's just people were saying it.
Okay.
In sector 2. But no, yeah, solid team. Been slept on. Been coasting under the radar. So, I don't know. Top 4 is deserved. I don't know who they play. I already forgot who they play today, but they play against.
They don't play.
DPH,
Well, they do.
so.
They play DPH.
Oh yeah, DPH with a new roster. I mean DPH, you never know. Sub-Zeros, they can't get first, but I think they can drop to 3. I don't know if how their RAR game went. So maybe not. Maybe that doesn't matter.
They beat RAR, so they're locked in.
They're playing for fun.
Yeah.
They're playing for fun. That's okay.
A good warm-up game. You might consider it going into playoffs. So, number 3, Elite Choppas. Once again, can argue as high as number 1. Could also argue number 2. So somewhere in that top 3 really definitely makes sense for our purposes of our list. They're at number 3. You ask us after first week of playoffs. So here's the real crux of the situation, right? CV, we talked about this in DMs. We basically have 2 new teams that have playoff spots locked that we know nothing about. And so it's really hard to do rankings.
Yeah, and I know the combatant discussion on that is, well, every team could do that, right? Like, we could put in a completely new roster for playoffs, which there's just the in general issue with that being allowed regardless. So it is fair. It's just an interesting rule to be allowed for any team. But yeah, I agree with the top 3, or at least as of a few days ago. We're all really interchangeable on how you just prefer to line up the top 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Italy, much deserved top 3. One of, if not the most consistent teams, looks like. So we'll see them in finals. I mean, that's the script.
Potentially. That's the script. Number 2, you know those guys.
Yeah, right.
So after the situation that happened yesterday, are you confident in saying we are the number 1 team?
Not yet. I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, obviously, it's like, well, but obviously OTLO doesn't exist and blah blah. When OTL was here, wasn't confident putting us 1. Don't think it's quite deserved yet. We get to play TFF, who I think is a really good team. I had them top 4 on my list. And so if we pull out the win tonight, I'd feel a lot more confident in saying it. Granted, obviously, NLE plays TD, right? So they could potentially pick up another quality win as well. You can argue about the roster and blah, blah, blah. But we'll see. I think interchangeable. People were whispering rivals bias. I don't know. But I believe in us having top 3, no questions.
There you go. Number 1.
And that's going to be it for...
the org that shall not be named. So, obviously that stuff happened. There's going to be 2 new players coming on. I believe, if I pull up the roster sheet, they're going to be slotting in at jungle and ADC with PM going back to top and Lunar Paw staying in support. Um, are you gonna write their name on there?
No, I thought about it, but I was like, I'll just leave it how it is.
Okay.
I was going to because we don't know. It's gonna be tough. We don't know what we're gonna do as far as ranking them. Um,
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like,
Obviously, a few players on the roster deserve an undefeated record. Some of them don't, so it's kind of just a wonky situation. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. As far as just looking at their team, I think it's gonna be a solid team if they can get the chemistry piece down. They of course, wait, do they? They have a bye today, right? So they have
yeah.
the free win today, and then they're gonna get the bye in playoffs. So 2 weeks to put in some scrims, or maybe they just wing it and say, "Hey, people that we don't really know, I'll see you in 2 weeks for a playoff game." I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. We will see. But that is the power rankings for everything. CB, our sign up's still live for that
Sign
particular event we
ups
are hosting.
are still live. So Rivals, we are hosting a little 2v2 tournament action this Friday at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. In the Rivals Discord is posted in the announcements if you haven't seen it. We'll see. I don't know if it might be just 4 teams, might be 8 teams. I have no idea. We'll see. Either way, it's gonna be fun. It'll be us two casting, righteous casting, and me just hanging out pretty much. But yeah, it'll be fun.
Mhm. It'll be fun. We hope you enjoyed the part two, the makeup stream. Not congrats. Good luck to everybody in their games today, except for TFF. I hope your monitors don't turn on.
That's
That's gonna be it
respectfully.
for us. And we wish you all well, and we'll see you. I mean, you'll see me later tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
facts.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.